Most people think this story started with rap music, a diss track, a tweet, maybe a bruised ego between two Memphis artists fighting over who really ran the city. But according to courtroom testimony, street rumors, and years of escalating violence, this may have turned into something way darker than music ever was. Because by the time it ended, young Dolph was dead, Big Jook was dead, multiple people were sitting in prison, and an entire city was left looking over its shoulder. And the craziest part? It may have all started because one rapper refused to sign a contract. Back in 2014, Yo Gotti was already building CMG into a serious force in the South. He saw young Dolph coming up fast. Dolph had momentum, money, and most importantly, the streets behind him. Memphis respected him because he moved differently. He wasn't pretending to be independent, he actually was independent. So when Gotti allegedly tried to bring Dolph into CMG, it looked like a smart business move. On paper, it made perfect sense. But Dolph said no, and not quietly either. He later spoke publicly about wanting to stay independent and invest in himself instead of signing under another artist. To fans, it sounded inspiring. To others, it sounded disrespectful. Especially in a city like Memphis where reputation matters almost as much as money. What made things even worse was what happened after the rejection. Dolph didn't just continue his career, he started climbing higher without CMG. And then came the phrase that changed the temperature completely. King of Memphis. That title already belonged to Yo Gotti in the eyes of many fans, but Dolph used it anyway. He dropped his debut album under that exact name, and suddenly this wasn't just about business anymore. It became symbolic. Two powerful names from the same city now competing for dominance in public. And in rap culture, public disrespect spreads fast. At first, Gotti mostly stayed silent publicly, but the tension was obvious. Then Dolph started tweeting about people turning from fans into haters. Fans immediately connected the dots. Memphis started dividing itself into sides. CMG supporters on one end, Paper Route Empire supporters on the other. Then the diss records started landing, and that's when things really got ugly. Dolph wasn't subtle about it either. He mocked people directly. He laughed at threats. He treated the situation almost like entertainment, while the streets around him were taking everything personally. Black Youngsta entered the picture publicly, throwing threats online and escalating tensions even further. Social media turned the beef into a spectacle. Fans picked sides. Reaction channels exploded. Every interview became loaded with hidden messages and sneak disses. But underneath the internet drama, something darker was brewing. Because in certain environments, humiliation doesn't stay online, especially when millions of people are watching. Then came Charlotte. In February 2017, just one day after Dolph released Play Wit Yo Be Go, his bulletproof SUV was hit with over 100 rounds in Charlotte, North Carolina. Over 100 shots. The vehicle looked like something out of a war movie. But Dolph survived because the SUV was armored. And surviving changed everything. The moment those images hit the internet, Dolph's image transformed. Fans started viewing him differently. Not just as a rapper anymore, but almost like somebody untouchable. Every failed attempt added to the mythology around him. The streets began treating him like a man who couldn't be taken down. That kind of reputation can become dangerous, because surviving publicly embarrasses whoever failed privately. Then, months later, another shooting happened in Hollywood. Dolph was reportedly hit multiple times outside a hotel in Los Angeles. Once again, he survived. Once again, rumors connected the violence back to the ongoing Memphis tension. Once again, nobody important got convicted, and slowly the beef stopped looking like rap entertainment. It started looking like war. But what fans didn't fully understand at the time was that while the internet moved on to newer drama, prosecutors later claimed things never actually cooled down behind the scenes. According to testimony that would surface years later, there were allegedly deeper conversations happening involving money, retaliation, and targeted hits connected to Paper Route Empire artists. That's where the story stops feeling normal. According to courtroom testimony, alleged bounties were discussed involving multiple artists connected to Dolph's circle. Names like Key Glock, Big Moochie Grape, and others reportedly surfaced during proceedings. Suddenly, this wasn't framed as two rappers dissing each other anymore. Prosecutors painted it as an organized campaign connected to power, loyalty, and money. And if those allegations were true, then Memphis had become a ticking time bomb. Meanwhile, Dolph kept winning. That's the part people forget. He wasn't fading away, he was getting bigger. Rich Slave debuted high on the charts. His independent success became impossible to ignore. He was making millions without major label control. Fans respected him even more because he stayed rooted in Memphis while becoming nationally successful. He gave back constantly. Turkey drives, charity events, helping local businesses, taking care of people in his city. To many people, Dolph represented ownership and freedom, which made what happened next feel even colder. Thanksgiving week, 2021. According to testimony, the suspects allegedly knew Dolph would be back in Memphis because of his annual community events. They reportedly watched his movements throughout the week, waiting for the right opportunity. Prosecutors later described it like a hunt, and on November 17th, young Dolph walked into Makita's Butter Cookies in South Memphis. Just buying cookies. That detail still haunts people because it sounds so normal. One moment he's in his hometown supporting local businesses. The next moment, gunfire erupts in broad daylight. Surveillance footage would later become one of the most talked about pieces of evidence in Memphis history. According to testimony, shooters jumped out and opened fire while Dolph stood near the window. The scene was chaos. Witnesses screaming, cars stopping, people running for cover. And within minutes, one of Memphis's biggest rap stars was gone. 36 years old, killed in the city he never stopped representing. The reaction online was immediate. Fans mourned him like family. Murals appeared across Memphis. Candlelight vigils filled the streets. But underneath the grief was rage, because many people already believed this wasn't random. And then the arrests began. Justin Johnson, Cornelius Smith, Hernandez Govan. As details slowly came out, the public realized prosecutors believed this was planned far in advance. But the most explosive claims didn't surface until years later inside the courtroom. That's when the internet nearly exploded. In September 2024, Cornelius Smith took the stand and allegedly connected Big Jook directly to the murder plot. According to testimony, Big Jook allegedly funded the hit through intermediaries. Smith claimed money was promised. Prosecutors outlined alleged payment breakdowns. And then came the detail nobody could stop talking about: the alleged FaceTime call. According to testimony after the shooting, the suspects allegedly contacted Big Jook to confirm Dolph was dead. Not rumors online, not bloggers speculating. Actual courtroom testimony. Then prosecutors added another layer that made the entire situation even more disturbing. According to opening statements, there were allegations that one suspect was promised more than just money. A potential CMG deal was allegedly discussed as part of the reward structure. And suddenly people online started repeating the same sentence over and over. All this over a deal he turned down. Now, whether every allegation was true or not, one thing became undeniable. The courtroom had dragged years of street whispers directly into public view. Memphis wasn't gossiping anymore. The entire country was watching. Justin Johnson would later be convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. Other cases played out differently. Some charges stuck, others didn't. But before the public could fully process the courtroom fallout, another shocking killing changed the story again. January 2024. Big Jook attends a repast after a family funeral in Memphis. Broad daylight, family members present. Yo Gotti's own mother reportedly nearby. Then gunfire erupts. Big Jook is killed at the scene, and immediately the streets connected the dots. Because the timing felt impossible to ignore. Years after Dolph's death, months before courtroom testimony would publicly name Big Jook. Suddenly he's gone too, killed in a targeted shooting outside a funeral gathering. The parallels disturbed people. Both respected figures in Memphis, both targeted publicly. Both connected to a war that allegedly spiraled far beyond music. Then internet detectives discovered something chilling. Big Jook's final Instagram post before his death talked about betrayal, snakes, and staying alert. Fans treated it like prophecy after the shooting happened. But here's where the story becomes even more unsettling. No arrests have officially solved Big Jook's murder, which means rumors filled the vacuum instantly. Street talk claimed retaliation. Others claimed ongoing bounty rumors. Some believed people connected to Dolph wanted revenge. Others believed Memphis had simply entered a cycle nobody could stop anymore. And through all of it, Yo Gotti stayed mostly silent publicly. That silence became its own form of communication. Fans analyzed every appearance, every lyric, every move. When Gotti returned to the stage shortly after his brother's death, people debated what it meant. Strength? Defiance? Pain? Nobody really knew. Because underneath all the speculation sits a much darker reality. Real people died. Children lost fathers. Families buried sons and brothers. And an entire generation of Memphis artists watched what happened when business, ego, street loyalty, and public humiliation collided together. That's what makes this story different from normal rap beef. It stopped being entertainment a long time ago. And maybe the strangest part of all is how small the original spark feels now. One contract offer, one rejection, one artist betting on himself instead of signing under somebody else. From the outside, it sounds like a normal business decision. But according to prosecutors' testimony and years of violence that followed, that single choice may have triggered consequences nobody could control anymore. Young Dolph built independence into a movement. Fans admired him because he proved artists could win without surrendering ownership. Yo Gotti built CMG into a powerhouse empire worth millions. Both men became symbols of success in Memphis. And yet, despite the money, fame, and influence surrounding everyone involved, the streets still demanded something else entirely. Respect. That's the word sitting underneath this entire story. Not streams, not charts, not business, respect. And once people feel disrespected publicly, especially in environments where reputation becomes survival, logic can disappear fast. Now the city is left with ghosts, rumors, court records, conspiracy theories, and families trying to move forward while the internet keeps replaying every detail over and over again. Dolph is gone. Big Jook is gone. Multiple lives are destroyed, and the story still doesn't even feel finished. Because in Memphis, people don't believe wars end when the headlines stop. They believe wars end when nobody's left answering back.